Thanks for joining me for another edition. This is going to be the weekend wrap up, bringing you the news and information that not only affects the Black community, but the community as a whole. This was a busy week for the riots, now going on 12 days. A lot went on this week. This is not in any particular order. I try to keep it in order based on days, but some things may be a little bit out of order. On Monday, a total of 6 officers were charged for the Saturday assault of the 2 college students, Messiah Young, 22, and Tania Pilgrim, age 20. These were the 2 college students that were downtown Atlanta protesting, like all of us do. Towards the end of the protests, they were trying to leave in their vehicle. They were stopped, not sure what occurred to cause them to be stopped by the police, but they were pulled out of their car very forcefully. Mr. Messiah Young was tased. If you've seen the video and you've seen the interview that they gave on the news, they also, Mr. Young said that one of the probes from the taser was actually lodged in his back for about 6 hours. The police department finally, before letting him go and dropping charges, of course, did give him medical attention. But needless to say, these 2 are both being represented by an attorney, so we'll keep you up to date on what's going on with that. Also, state of Minnesota opened a probe into the Minneapolis Police Department for civil rights violations dating back 10 years. This is a big deal because not only are they dealing with the death of George Floyd, but they're going to be going back 10 years to pretty much to probe how Blacks have been treated as civil rights violations, Black, white, Latino, regardless of race. This is a big step in the right way, in the right direction for the Minnesota Police Department. They're talking about disbanding the Minnesota Police Department. I don't know if that's going to happen, pretty much defunding the cops there and starting fresh. That's what's been talked about. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but again, we will keep you up to date with that. Also in the news last week, Talkspace CEO Oren Frank pulled out of a 6-figure deal, which potentially could end up being a multi-million-dollar deal with Facebook. And he was asked why he pulled out of this deal. And he was directly quoted saying that he does not support a platform that incites violence, racism, and lies. This is in direct response to the Facebook not monitoring, restricting President Trump's posts. Now, all of us know President Trump is pretty much unfiltered about his posts, his tweets, etc. But this CEO of Talkspace, Mr. Frank, said that he did not want to do business with Facebook due to the fact that they're not doing more to pretty much monitor how Trump seems to be able to spread lies and everything else. Also in the news this week, Stephen King, the 9-term Iowa GOP congressman, lost his primary. This is big news to the Black community and the community as a whole because he was a GOP congressman of Iowa, and he served 9 terms. He was defeated. And a Republican unfortunately defeated him, but that Republican will have to go against Democrat and independents in the upcoming primary. So this is good news for the state of Iowa, just making change. Voters in the state of Missouri made history on Tuesday by electing Miss Ella Jones as not only the state's first the city of Ferguson's first Black mayor, but also first Black female mayor. This is huge because if you guys remember back in 1990, I can't even remember the date, but Michael Brown pretty much sparked outrage and protests over his death in the hands of police. He was shot. He was later found that he was unarmed, and Ferguson pretty much is known to have started Black Lives Matter, well, the movement. And this is huge. 6 months to the date, Miss Jones will now become Ferguson's first Black female mayor. That's a huge accomplishment. And again, going in the right direction. Also, a story that didn't get a lot of notice this week was that Princeton University will have announced that it will have its first Black valedictorian. This is huge. Mr. Nicholas Johnson, age 22, will become Princeton University's first Black valedictorian in 247 years since Princeton opened. Being an Ivy League school, you know, of course, being 247 years old, Princeton has a long history of, Princeton was actually built by slaves. They've had a lot of issues with the Black community, not admitting Blacks, this and that. We got to think it's only been 70 years. It's been 70 years since the first Black student attended Princeton University, and I believe that was back in 1947. He later graduated in 1951. But this is huge. The first Black valedictorian from Princeton. Mr. Johnson should be proud. I know he's proud, and I know his family's proud, and the Black community is proud for him. This is a huge accomplishment again, but it did take 70 years to get to this point. Kind of makes you wonder or understand why Blacks are not trying to hear, just wait, just be calm, give it some time. It took 70 years, but it's a change. Also this week, Secretary of Defense Mark Esper held a press conference where he took questions regarding the photo ops at the St. John's Church across from Lafayette Park. I'm sure everyone seen the news and observed the low-flying helicopters, the police presence out of this world. The National Guard was brought in. They had helicopters flying low trying to distract protesters. Then, without warning, despite what the White House says, the National Guard and police started storming the protesters, knocking them over, assaulting them, and it was all for a photo op, unfortunately. But the Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, said that he had he did take questions at his press conference, and he said that he had no knowledge that it was going to be a press op. Also that he did not agree with it, and he also went on to say that he does not agree with Trump threatening to use the Insurrection Act of 1807. I discussed this in my last video. The Insurrection Act basically says that troops can be deployed within the United States to calm civil unrest, riots, etc. He says that he totally does not agree with this, and if it is left up to him, that this will not happen. But at the end of the day, Trump has the final say, so you probably know where that's going to go. Also news this week, Virginia governor orders the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue downtown Richmond, Virginia. This 6-foot statue of the Confederate general was erected in the state's capital in 1809. It stood as pretty much a reminder to Black people about how Blacks were treated, how they're regarded, and this and that. And let me explain to you guys real quick. The reason, imagine you work for the state, you're a resident of the state, you're a resident of a town, you're a resident of a city, this and that, and every time you get up, go to work, go shopping, go to a park, go to a gathering, you have to see remnants of the South, the Confederacy, the Civil War. The Civil War was fought North and South over pretty much slavery. So imagine having to see that every day. That's why it's such an issue to us when we see a Confederate flag or a statue depicting one of the Confederate generals, Robert E. Lee. So kudos to the Georgia governor for being progressive and getting ready to get rid of this statue. They don't have an exact date, but the statue being taken down has been pushed up due to the recent violence. Also this week, former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly spoke up in defense for the scathing criticism of Trump made by Defense Secretary James Mattis. Basically, James Mattis, who is no longer the Defense Secretary, put out a post, an article basically denouncing Trump and his actions. He also went on to say that Trump basically has no moral character. And John Kelly, the former White House Chief of Staff, came out also with remarks in defense of John Mattis. Now, you guys got to understand how important this is. These two men collectively have over 90 years of service to their country. Both of them are Marine Corps generals. And for you guys that don't understand, general is the highest you can go in the armed services. You have Brigadier General, which is a 1-star. You have a Major General, which is a 2-star. Lieutenant General, which is a 3-star. And you have a 4-star general, which is just pretty much addressed as general. These two men have 90 years combined of military service. They have more time in military service than Trump has been alive. And for them to have worked in the White House hand in hand next to the president, and for them both to come out to basically say this president has no character, he's divisive. John Mattis also went on to say that he's never witnessed a president that acts the way Trump does. He says he is pretty much just dividing the country, which I said in my first video, why Trump is the most dangerous man in the world, basically. Also this week, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser ordered Black Lives Matter to be painted on the 16th Street, and that is a street leading up to the White House. Now, due to all the protests that happened this week, the phony photo op that Trump did and this and that, they ended up painting Black Lives Matter in bright yellow paint. I'm sure you guys have seen the video. Pull it up. It's a beautiful thing. Of course, Trump was not happy with the mayor for doing this, but the mayor said that she wanted to show that Washington, D.C. supports Black Lives Matter. They support peaceful protests, which I do. And it just was a symbol to show that D.C. is in the fight. So that was pretty much the wrap up. I'm watching news. Unfortunately, I couldn't wrap up everything that has occurred over the week, but I tried to hit the highlights of the week. The reason these items stood out to me because they are affecting change. They're causing change. And when your friends or family members or spouses even ask you, why is this so important to you? You can express to them that it is time for change. And this is why we're doing the things that we're doing, protesting. People keep protesting, keep doing your Facebook posts, keep doing your Instagram posts. I went downtown. I've been downtown probably 3 or 4 times, just trying to do my part, giving out refreshments and water and marching and listening to people speak and doing pictures. That is how change will occur. It will not occur with you just sitting back and accepting it. And as I'm sure you've seen on a lot of videos, sitting back, you no longer can just turn your head and say, hey, I'm not a racist, so maybe it doesn't matter to me and it's not really affecting me. It's affecting everyone, including our nation. So keep doing what you're doing, keep fighting. I'm going to start highlighting the segment of the week. And my segment of the week is going to be called Foot in the Mouth Award of the Week. And the Foot of the Mouth Award a week goes to, take a guess, Drew Brees. Drew Brees, the Saints quarterback, posted a video, and again, I'm sure most of you have seen it. If you haven't, pull it up, where he basically expressed his dislike and disagreement with NFL players and players in general kneeling. This was a touchy video. Everyone has their right to an opinion, but him being a quarterback in the limelight was not a good timing. He received a lot of flack and feedback from people, including his teammates. A lot of his teammates posted rebuttal videos. Malcolm Jenkins was one of the strongest ones with his reply. He basically posted a video where he expressed his hurt and his dislike for Drew Brees' comments. And Drew Brees' comments, again, he has the right to do it, freedom of speech, but his comments were basically started out with, he does not agree and will not stand for anyone kneeling for the flag in the national anthem. He said it showed disrespect. Here's the thing, me being a service member that have served in the military for 8 years, I totally disagree. I believe you should honor the flag. I fought for the flag, but you cannot ask people to honor and support and show honor for a flag. People in World War II, blacks in World War II, we fought in that war as well. And the thing that bothers me the most is we fought in that war and we came back to a nation that would not even give us civil rights. So for you to tell people that they can't kneel and they should honor a flag because your father and grandfather fought in the war, you don't think my grandfather and father fought in the war? And people that have that right and have that platform should protest. And I really believe that. It's like I said, I'm a veteran. My father was in the Marine Corps and his father was in the Marines. We all serve. But for him to come out and say that he disagreed with that and the way he came out about it was wrong. Sometimes, man, you need to consider timing. Wasn't a good time to do that. Malcolm Jenkins came back and told him, when I take off my helmet, I'm still a black man. That was so poignant to say. When he comes off the field and he takes off his helmet, guess what? He's still a black man. And this man is a millionaire, a professional athlete, and he's been stopped by the police, he said, over 6 times on his way or leaving practices or games. So Drew Brees, shut up if you don't know what you're talking about, man, okay? Also, LeBron James came out and after watching the video said that, you know what? Still don't understand why Cap was kneeling on one knee. And obviously Drew Brees doesn't. Now, of course, Drew Brees, after getting all the slack, came back and expressed an apology, said that, you know, he didn't understand, his words were misconstrued as wrong. It's not his character, this and that. But I will have to say it's probably a little bit too late because you really shouldn't have. Now is just not the good time to do that. And it also could have been taken better. Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay quarterback, said that it has never been about that. Kudos to Aaron Rodgers. Also, Matt Ryan, the Atlanta Falcons quarterback, donated $500,000 to a GoFundMe account he helped establish aimed at advancing the lives of Atlanta blacks. And his goal is to raise over $2 million. A lot of people will say, oh, well, he's just doing it because of that. You know what? Matt Ryan could have just simply came out and said he disagreed with Drew Brees. But instead of that, which Matt Ryan has been active in the black community for a while, he came out and not only said that the comments were wrong, but also started a GoFundMe account and with the goal of raising $2 million. Again, kudos to Matt Ryan. Also in the sports world, Roger Goodell, NFL commissioner, posted a message expressing how the NFL was wrong in the past for not listening to its players. This, again, is huge. Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, expressed that basically saying in the past that maybe the NFL should have listened a little bit more. Instead of listening to Trump and trying to tell the players what they can and can't do, Roger Goodell has taken a stand and says that not only should he have listened in the past, but that the NFL will be listening and supporting its players in any means that they have to protest. So when the season starts back, I'm almost positive you will see a lot more players kneeling, as well as not honoring the national anthem. And again, it's your right to protest. And if that is your platform and you know that it will be seen by thousands and millions of people, take that use of that platform. And at the end, Michael Jordan since retiring, he's been not as active as people feel, and he doesn't voice his opinion a lot. He's very humble about things, this and that. But even Michael Jordan has pledged $100 million in the fight for racial equality. Over $100 million. Now, he's donated this amount of money, and of course it's over 10 years, but you got to figure that's $10 million a year for the cause. This is, again, a huge win for the Black community, for Black Lives Matter, for racial equality. That's a lot of money, and hopefully it will be used in the correct way. So that's my wrap up. Hopefully, I know I went over 10 minutes, but again, this was a busy week. We're on the 12th day of protests across the nation. As I told you, I watch news from the time I get up to the time I go to bed, and this protest is starting to lean not only toward racial injustice, but injustice of police brutality. It's all over the world now. It's in London, it's in Germany, it's in New Zealand, it's in Australia, it's France, it's going global, and I do not see it slowing down. And matter of fact, as the more Trump talks or does not talk about it, the stronger this momentum is going to be. So hopefully, I hope you enjoyed my weekend roundup. Hopefully you enjoyed the format. Like I said, I had a lot to condense in a week. And to end this segment, I received an email, an inbox from a gentleman. He asked to remain nameless. He asked that I did not state his name. But this gentleman basically worked for a news affiliate in San Francisco. And he basically expressed to me that he's watched my videos. He appreciates what I'm doing. He gave me some suggestions and some pointers. But what stuck out to me the most about the message that he left me was that his direct words were that, Carlton, what you are doing, whether you know it or not, is you are taking your first step into journalism. That affected me a lot. It changed my way of thinking about what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to get better at this. I'm going to continue to improve my format and my platform, and I'm going to continue to strive to make sure that, again, I'm bringing you news and information that affects not only the Black community, but community in general as a whole. Thank you for that. And if you're watching this post and you know who you are, I really appreciate it. You changed my life. Thank you.